Well, there have been a few cases out there where the Democrats and the media say, oh, this person was just an innocent father of three, and then you find out, for example, I think this is the case that you're talking about. Back in 2019, an immigration judge looked at all the evidence, looked at all the data, and concluded that this allegedly innocent person that we sent to El Salvador was actually a member of an MS-13 gang. He had also committed some traffic violations. He had not shown up for some court dates. This is not exactly father of the year here. This is a person that we don't think should be in our country. Here's the most important point, though, Lawrence, is whatever the argument is, whatever the justification is, no one doubts, not even the crazy left-wing media criticized the idea that we could deport this person. They just took issue with the reasoning for why we deported this person.
Prices are still rising, the stock market is tanking, and Donald Trump's approval rating has never been lower. And so what's his answer to all of these problems? Send out J.D. Vance. Yeah, that should show you where this administration is at. If they think J.D. Vance can make all of their problems go away. But they tried in a softball interview with the Fox propaganda outlet this morning that JD did. But it actually wasn't such a softball interview because he was actually confronted to his face by this Fox host about Donald Trump just crashing the economy, the rising prices that we see, and how upset people are with this disastrous administration. And JD instantly crumbled. And we are going to get into all of it. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me now. Before we can get into that moment of JD being confronted to his face, I want to start with where this interview began. The worst lie I've heard about Social Security from this administration so far.
First of all, that report I saw was total fake news. Elon came in and we said, we need you to make government more efficient. We need you to shrink the incredible, vast bureaucracy that thwarts the will of the American people, but also costs way too much money. And we said that's going to take about 6 months. And that's what Elon signed up for. But of course, he's going to continue to be an advisor. And by the way, the work of Doge is not even close to done. The work of Elon is not even close to done. You look at all of the fraudulent grants that they found. You look at people who are 150 years old, who are fraudulently collecting Social Security payments. You see our Social Security system, 40% of the people who are calling in are actually committing fraud. That means the 60% who need their Social Security checks are waiting in line. Doge has got a lot of work to do. And yeah, that work's going to continue after Elon leaves. But fundamentally, Elon is going to remain a friend and an advisor of both me and the president, and he's done a lot of good things.
Where does J.D. Vance even get that 40% figure, claiming that people are committing fraud with Social Security? Social Security offices are flooded with calls, not because people are scamming the government, but because they're terrified that Elon Musk is somehow stealing their benefits. The real issue is not widespread fraud, but rather the fact that Social Security remains one of the most successful programs in American history, keeping millions of people out of poverty. The notion that tens of millions of beneficiaries are defrauding the system is pure nonsense. And the lies didn't end with J.D. Vance. When he was questioned about the Maryland father who was unlawfully deported by him and Donald Trump to a prison in El Salvador, the falsehoods continued. And we can see that right here.
Your lawyer had on for a second, because they're pointing to one of these cases of a gentleman that they said should not have been deported from El Salvador. They said he was not connected to MS-13. What would you tell them about that case? Because they're saying that this is a person that was a great member of society. You've looked at the court records, you've talked to the men and women on the ground. What can you tell us about that situation?
Well, there have been a few cases out there where the Democrats and the media say, oh, this person was just an innocent father of three, and then you find out, for example, I think this is the case that you're talking about. Back in 2019, an immigration judge looked at all the evidence, looked at all the data, and concluded that this allegedly innocent person that we sent to El Salvador was actually a member of an MS-13 gang. He had also committed some traffic violations. He had not shown up for some court dates. This is not exactly father of the year here. This is a person that we don't think should be in our country. Here's the most important point, though, Lawrence, is whatever the argument is, whatever the justification is, no one doubts, not even the crazy left-wing media criticized the idea that we could deport this person. They just took issue with the reasoning for why we deported this person. This was unquestionably an illegal alien. This was unquestionably a person who broke the laws to get into our country. This is unquestionably a person an immigration judge had found had zero right to be in the United States of America. We do not ask permission from far-left Democrats before we deport illegal immigrants. We do the American people's business. And again, for the American people who are watching, this is such a weird, mistaken placement of priorities. We need to make our country stronger. We need to create jobs. We need to make our streets safer. What is it about congressional Democrats that get more angry at deporting violent gang members than they do at the victims of those violent gang members? I don't even understand where they're coming from. They've gone off the deep end and they got to come back to reality.
Remember when J.D. Vance was deleting all of its tweets about what he said about this Marin father who was unlawfully deported? Yeah, it's because he was telling and getting caught in the same lies that he just pushed right there. This is not some MS-13G member he receives asylum from a judge, and J.D. Vance is trying to claim that that didn't happen, that they had every right to deport him without due process. And no, J.D., you're not right that no one is opposing, that you have the right to deport this person. Sure, under some circumstance, you might have the right to deport someone, but that doesn't mean you can do it without due process. We're not opposing you deporting violent criminals. We are opposing your mass deportation plan that has no accountability and doesn't seem to care about the law and has swept up innocent, lawful, permanent residents to send them and to not care about them. Once they get there to a torture prison in El Salvador, it is insane that J.D. Vance thinks that he can deport someone for no reason except what he said, traffic violations. So I went through a stop sign too quickly, and now I'm shipped off to a different country I've never been. It's absolute absurdity, and it only got worse when Vance was confronted about crashing the economy.
I also know people that come from our background, they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Of course.
And they want to do the patriotic duty of taking it to these other countries, but it's going to hit them a little bit. They feel. What can you tell the American people that they just can't afford an extra $3 here and there about the government making up the difference from that? Will costs go up at some point? Will this just be temporary? Are we talking 3 months or 6 months?
Well, we certainly hear, and I appreciate, how I grew up.
I know.
I grew up in a family that often did live paycheck to paycheck, and we know a lot of Americans are worried. So we are fighting very hard to bring prices down. We're going to have the biggest deregulation in the history of this country. We're doing a lot of things and already have done a lot of things to lower the cost of energy. You heard the president mention this yesterday. Eggs, when we came in, were at a 10-year high, and all of a sudden they've dropped 60% just in the 2 months of the Trump administration. What I'd ask folks to appreciate here is that we are not going to fix things overnight. Yeah. Joe Biden left us, this is not an exaggeration, Lawrence, with the largest peacetime debt and deficit in the history of the United States of America, with sky-high interest rates. You don't fix that stuff overnight. We know people are struggling. We're fighting as quickly as we can to fix what was left to us, but it's not going to happen immediately. But we really do believe that if we pursue the right deregulation, we pursue those energy cost-reducing policies, yes, people are going to see it in their pocketbook. They're also going to benefit from the fact that foreign countries can't take advantage of us anymore. That means their jobs are going to be more secure.
J.D. Vance's response is a complete non-answer. He didn't seem at all prepared for the question, which is surprising given how much Fox News has tried to support this administration amid the struggling economy. Just recently, Harris Faulkner, one of the worst hosts on Fox, claimed it was patriotic to pay more as prices rise due to Donald Trump's policies. She even said it's patriotic to lose money from your 401k because of the economic crash caused by Trump. According to her, it's patriotic to dismantle a global trade alliance that has brought unprecedented prosperity. These people are completely out of touch. J.D. Vance in particular sounded equally clueless, offering a weak response about eggs when the real issue is much broader. This is typical. J.D. Vance offers no concrete evidence that his policies will work either in the short term or long term. While he talks about supporting farmers and manufacturing, his policies actively undermine them, especially by cutting significant investments in green energy and infrastructure from the bill Joe Biden passed. The same goes for farmers, who are facing billions in cuts to USAID, leaving them struggling. This could even lead to a $28 billion bailout. J.D. Vance's approach is pure madness, and it's why Adam Schiff called it out right here.
It was Liberation Day. Are you feeling liberated?
No, I may be liberated from anything in a 401k, as millions of Americans will feel that impact, and will be liberated from any chance of having lower prices for things. This is going to be a disaster for our economy. It's going to be a disaster for hardworking families that are going to have to pay more for auto parts or getting their car fixed or, buying groceries or anything else. These other countries, many of whom are our closest allies, are going to retaliate against us. It's just simply going to escalate from here. I talked to farmers out in California who still haven't recovered the market share they lost during the first Trump administration from the ill-fated tariffs then. So this is going to be really disastrous. A massive self-inflicted wound on our economy from a president who campaigned on lowering prices, but is in fact pushing them through the roof.
Well, we're supposed to put their feet to the fire with a vote on the tariffs. And so one of the ways of holding them accountable is forcing them to vote, forcing them to go beyond private expressions or even public expressions of concern, which we've heard all too many. That is Republicans saying, well, I am concerned about the impacts of the tariffs. No, you're going to have to vote. You're going to have to own this. And tonight they're going to have to own this. And this is one way of holding them accountable, but also shedding a light through these spotlight or shadow hearings like we're going to do on Monday at 3:30. We're going to expose this corruption at the top of the Justice Department for the American people to see. And that's one way also of putting pressure on this administration and pressure on our Republican colleagues to do something about the runaway corruption of this administration.
These are unserious people in our White House who are causing very serious damage, and it is upon us to call it out. And it's going to get easier every day when people are going to the grocery store or checking their 401k and seeing just how damaging this administration is. But still, we have to call it out every single day, and if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. Leave a like on this video, and if you're stuck around at the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.